Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. My name is Tessa Merrill, and I am your host for today. And I'm hoping my microphone and video works for everyone and that we are live and everything is working well. This is our first live stream for Hacktoberfest event. We have quite a few live streams happening this month where you can learn several different topics, especially when it comes to open source and contributing to open source and how it can help with your career, how it can help find you a job, everything to do with bringing value to you as a developer, especially if you're a new developer. And hey, Shivadeep. Hi, everyone. And I am reading the comments. We are live streaming through Twitch, through YouTube, not Facebook. So I will be responding to everyone, or at least do my best. Today's session, in about 15 minutes, we have Mohammed. He will be doing how to do your first pull request. And then after that, we will be doing a fireside chat with Ahmed on why contributing to open source will help your career or help you land a career. Hi, Kelvin. Hi, Suraj. Video and voice is not in sync. Uh-oh. Let me see. 1 second. It's always fun with live stream and technology, and when you're using Google Meet or using Zoom, sometimes things don't always work perfectly every single time. One day it will work, and then another day it will not work. How's the stream for others? Is it working fine? Is the video and sound in sync? I wonder if that's something I can fix. I'm on fiber connection, so I have 1 gig upload and 1 gig download. So with a 1 gig upload connection, it's definitely on StreamYard's side of things. Hopefully it works out fine. Awesome. So I haven't used StreamYards in a while, so that's where I'm streaming from, and it's pushing to YouTube. So I'm going to be sharing some slides. I'll take the blame for it. Definitely not on your side. It's most likely on the StreamYard side, connecting to YouTube. All right, let's see. This is going to be fun. Share slides. Oh, there's a new option. You have no slides. Import your slides. I'm just going to share screen. Share screen. We'll do a Chrome tab. Let's see what happens if I switch it out. Nice. So an intro to Hacktoberfest. Is anyone completely new to Hacktoberfest, has never participated before, and who has participated? Hey, Himantika. Hey, Alexander. Anyone like brand new to Hacktoberfest and really excited to participate for the first time? Awesome. All right. We'll go to the next slide. My name is Tessa Merrill, and I am the head of developer relations on the AppWrite team. I work with a team of developer advocates who work closely with engineers and all the other teams. So we advocate for AppWrite, we advocate and educate developers, and we are the voice between engineers and business and marketing and everything. Marcel, you said you followed it but never participated, and you plan on participating this year? If so, that's pretty awesome. So we'll be going over what is Hacktoberfest, a little information about AppWright's Hacktoberfest, not specifically on contributing, but just more information. We just launched our site this morning, my time. And staying in touch. Oh, I drink a lot of water every day. So I always have a half-gallon jug next to me, and I'm like constantly drinking. It's really good for you, by the way. Makes you feel a lot healthier and lively. Aside from my Rockstar energy drink this morning, I don't drink it very often, but I bought a box of them a couple days ago because we launched on Product Hunt, and I was really excited about it and celebrated with an energy drink, and we ended up getting product of the day on producthunt.com. So that was pretty amazing, but I digress very easily. So what is Hacktoberfest? Let's see. Hold on. I have so many windows open right now. This is fun. Hacktoberfest is a month-long celebration, which starts on October 1st and ends on the end of October. Sometimes it starts a lot earlier in the September range, mostly to celebrate, like pre-celebration before it starts. It's a celebration of open source software, and it's hosted by DigitalOcean. And it's open for everyone. No matter what your skill level is, you are welcome to participate and join, from first-time contributors to seasoned open source developers. Seasoned means experienced. So my slides are covering the comments, so I'll look at the comments in a second. Oh, I see someone's helping with comments. Nice, awesome. So Hacktoberfest values. Everyone is welcome. And that's one of my favorite things about Hacktoberfest. It is the most beautiful thing ever. It gives individuals an opportunity. The amount of people I see that participated in Hacktoberfest and talked about how they were hired or how it helped them get a job because of their participation and being able to add it to their resume or being recognized for their contributions and being part of communities and networking and making acquaintances, friends within these communities. It goes a long ways. Quantity is fun, quality is key. It's important to always do quality PRs and not just try to push as many PRs as you can, because that's not going to help. You might get flagged as a spammer, so be careful with that. Make sure you put a lot of thought into it. Short-term action is long-term impact. Every PR and everything that you contribute can go a very long way to your future, and trust on when I say that. So who can participate in Hacktoberfest? Contributors, of course, which is all of you. Maintainers, which are individuals with the open source projects. Companies, which is what we are. Our team is participating as a sponsor of Hacktoberfest, and we're also having our open source project participate. And event organizers. And a lot of our team members are event organizers, which makes it convenient to host Hacktoberfest sessions. Let me check the comments real quick. Awesome. Okay. Hacktoberfest is a celebration of everything open source. Get your start in the open source world. And getting started in open source is pretty important and impactful to your future. Having a section on your resume where it says contributions or open source work it makes you stand out from a lot of other applications. It shows that you give back to the community, which is the second line. It shows that you have more talent and more skill to be able to collaborate with others, especially people from remote areas, from different cultures, from different regions. It gives you, it puts you ahead from everyone else because it gives you a different kind of experience that you can't really get anywhere else. It's the most amazing thing. And the whole reason where I'm at today in my career is all because of being part of open source projects. And I contributed and was part of a team for a very long time on the Joomla.org project. I stopped that quite a few years back, but it was something I started back in 2011, which is a long time ago. Feels like forever ago. So what's different this year with Hacktoberfest? There's different ways you can contribute. If you're not an experienced coder, you can contribute with advocating Hacktoberfest. You can contribute with writing content. It doesn't have to be lengthy content. It can be like a very simple content with maybe simple instructions, or content with like a basic demo on how to do something. That's always helpful. Being active in an open source project's Discord or wherever their community lies, it's always helpful to, bring excitement within the community. If you are more of a web designer trying to get into coding, or just a web designer, there's always help needed on that end. And you'd be surprised how many open source projects lack designers. So it's just always respected, and yeah, it makes us happy. Some good contribution practices. What makes a good pull request? So Mohammed is probably going to bring up some of these situations during his talk, but the number one thing is reading the contributing guide. If there is no contributing guide, guess what? That can be your first pull request and help with that. And how do you bring together the information how to contribute when there isn't a guide? You can talk with the community, talk with everyone, kind of do research and put together the information of what it takes to start contributing. If there's already a guide, make sure you read that, because if you try to submit a PR or start contributing without reading the guide, you'll get instant responses of individuals saying, hey, you should really read the documentation first. Be very descriptive with your commit messages, and what is the summary of the change and why, using existing code as examples for code style. And it's good to read different issues and understand how other people are doing PRs, how other people are dealing with issues, and just seeing how their processes are, and understand the community. One thing I've seen before with a new developer is this individual just jumps straight into a project and just tried to create a pull request without really knowing anything about the project or anything about what they're asking. It's take the time and just understand it first before you start rushing into things, feeling like that you have to make a contribution immediately. Taking your time can go a long ways with that. And make sure it passes all the tests, of course. Tips to be a good contributor: focusing on quality. And like I said, don't rush into things, and make sure you go through the processes and you go through the guide and make sure you're doing it correctly. It's okay to ask for feedback from others, especially if you join the community. If they have a Discord community, you can ask others. It's okay to ask questions. People are very helpful. They want to contribute by helping you as a contributor as well. Because we all start somewhere, right? We started somewhere. I started somewhere. I said, I'm not sure, how to contribute to open source. I've never participated in anything before in my life. I'd love for some advice. And someone's like, oh, we really could use some help with bug testing bug testing pull requests. And I've never heard of that before. And someone took the time to show me the process and show me the steps on how to do that. And I ended up joining the contributing team, and I got to spend a lot of my time doing that, which helped me learn. It helps me spend a lot of time being part of these communities and learning about different areas to contribute. So I jumped between different teams and contributing in a lot of different ways. And a lot of them were non-code contributions. You'd be surprised how much help is needed in an open source organization. Next one is wait for a couple days before you ask for an issue to be reassigned. Communicate your progress with the maintainers. That helps a lot, especially being reminded. Be very patient with them. There's probably a lot of issues happening. A lot of maintainers are taking their time, their extra time of their day. So being patient with them is always helpful. Help with PR reviews. You can always help with others. And be very constructive about feedback. Be respectful, be kind, be humble, and just enjoy the whole learning process. So I'll skip that one. So actually, I'm going to share our Hacktoberfest page that's launched. Okay. So I don't think it's sharing anymore, so I'm going to stop sharing and reshare my browser. Oh, he said, Jamil said, hello from Pakistan. Hello, hello. I'm going to share my screen again. Mohammed, I'm going to be bringing you on screen in a couple minutes. I just want to share this real quick. Uh-oh. I think it's this screen. Okay. Hacktoberfest.apprite.io. I'm going to post it here. So celebrate open source with Hacktoberfest. This is our version of Hacktoberfest site. I think the Hacktoberfest site for digital, the main one is hacktoberfest.digitalocean. Let's see, hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com. So yeah, we have that. So scrolling down our journey with Hacktoberfest, we started in 2019 and we had over 200 contributions. It was like huge for us. Developers really loved using Apprite. They loved contributing to Apprite. So something for you to take a look at. How can you contribute? Like I've mentioned, you can contribute. You can build a demo app. You can write a blog post, making content, making tutorials, design, just anything. You can win some swag. We have special Hacktoberfest swag that we're giving out to anyone who does 4 or more contributions. And I know a little bit about the swag, so I would say it's pretty amazing and awesome, and you should definitely participate. We have a lot of events happening. As you already know, we have today's event, creating your first pull request, which will start any minute now. And why contributing to open source will help your career. And that's a fireside chat. And fireside chat means 2 individuals talking and having a discussion. And sometimes it's in a format of Q&A. Our next event is on September 26th. And we have some sessions, intro to Git and GitHub. It'll be a little bit similar to the creating your first pull request, but it's going to be more on the processes. And then we have an open source advocacy session. And then on September 20th, next Wednesday, we have why get started with open source and a project showcase, another project showcase. So we have a lot of project showcases happening of different projects you can contribute as part of Hacktoberfest. So lots of stuff going on. And we're constantly updating this for more accurate or updated information. So definitely go to that. We also have our Hacktoberfest blog post. I'm going to post the link in the chat. There we go. Michelle, you said hello from Italy. Hello. Deepak said hello from San Francisco Bay Area. Forgive me if I pronounced anyone's name incorrectly. I'm not able to be corrected. And yeah, I'm very happy that everyone has joined us. For the new people that joined, if you are new to Hacktoberfest, let me know. And if you have any questions about Hacktoberfest, I'm happy to redirect you to someone that can help, or I'm happy to answer questions. You're welcome to follow me and DM me on Twitter. I will post my URL here. And I'm going to bring Mohammed into the stream. But first, one more thing. I'm going to add our Discord server link. You can also find me here. Let me type it, appright.io/Discord. So that'll redirect to joining the Discord server. So that's our community server. And if you do decide to contribute to Hacktoberfest with Appright, definitely join the community, and we're happy to help in any way. And here's our repo as well. And I am going to stop sharing and bring on Mohammed. Add to stream. Mohammed, are you able to unmute your microphone, or is that something I do on your end?
Hello everyone, this is Mohammed Hassan. So can I share my screen?
Yes. You're welcome to share your screen. First, I'd love an intro and love to learn more about you, especially to the audience. And who are you, and what is your background? How'd you get involved in Hacktoberfest? Hello.
Hello everyone.
And
this is Mohammed Hassan. This is called Microsoft Student Ambassador. I'm a community guy who loves to most of the time helping with learning, exploring, and engaging group. I'm fully positioned about technology, advocacy, and conferences like Reactor, Microsoft Kickoff, and a lot of stuff doing at campuses.
Thank you. Your microphone is very low. Is there any way you can turn up the volume?
Yeah.
Actually, it won't let me edit your microphone settings, but turn it up as loud as you can.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone that just joined the stream. Welcome, welcome. Okay, I will mute my mic when he starts speaking. Good thinking. Good thinking.
Can you hear me? Thank you.
Would you be okay with doing an intro one more time? I have to mute my mic. For some reason, you're echoing through my computer, which is okay. So where are you coming from, and a little bit about your background? And a bunch of people just joined the stream too.
Is it visible, my slides from you all? For you?
There, I'm sharing.
So this is all about from my side that I have shared up to now. So this is you can connect me on GitHub. Feel free to connect me on LinkedIn as well. I'm always available on Twitter, Medium. I'm also creating amazing content on Medium as well. So there are a lot of communities that I'm involved and doing great stuff with myself from Pakistan. So I'm also leading a lot of communities like AWS at my city and country, user group leader, and Flutter community Hyderabad at my campus, Microsoft Learning Student Ambassador as well. So let's talk about our agenda. So this is agenda. Basically, I will speak about each and everything. uh, deeply, that you will know each and everything, how you will contribute easily. That will be easy for you guys. So uh, uh, the topic of this from my Pakistan night. So how to make your first pull request on GitHub. Being an open source community build open source community boy guy, so you can contribute on GitHub. Now it is some like GitLab maybe, but in case of Hacktoberfest, you must have to contribute and make a 4 pull request on GitHub, that you will then Hacktoberfest team will review your pull request step by step, each and everything. You will accept, either you will accept or reject it. They will send you email. So basically, uh, what I will start from, what is forking actually. So before moving to the making a step, like making a pull request, so I want to discuss some important terms regarding pull request, like forking, like a pull request, like how to what why you are excited for to contribute here or on GitHub. So when we love someone repository, another guy, he make a repo on GitHub, and would like to have it in our on our account, GitHub account. We fork it so that we can work with separately. When we fork repo, we get an instance of entire repository with its whole history, like that. He putting all things regarding an application, like maybe a repository in case of web. So all things you will get after forking the repository sample. So forking is nothing but just you will get all instance from the repo, or you copying the repo in your personal account, right? So next, what is pull request actually? Pull requests are that way we contribute to group projects or in open source projects. Like we have a small project that number of the students work individually, remotely. They can contribute easily to make a awesome project, cool project, or they can feel free to contribute easily. For instance, any like suppose two users from anywhere from USA or Pakistan that they wants to contribute in a one project. So it's very difficult to it is very difficult they will connect to each other. So GitHub is easy to for you. You can contribute from anywhere. So to make a cool projects or awesome projects, like, so now you are thinking at here what it means to contribute basically, because you are contributing as a open source contributor for Hacktoberfest. Maybe you are contributing for any projects. So not only we can contribute to an open source project with code, but we can also contribute in many other ways. Some of these are like you are a designer, you can construct layout of the project to improve its usability, or improve the project's navigation, menu based, or any kind of user interface. If you are a designer, you can contribute as well. You can contribute as a writing, improve their project's documentation to translate documentation, install newsletter for the project, or the write tutorials for the project, or something else that you want to contribute as a blogger, as a content writer. You can also contribute as a writer as well. So you can there are a lot of stuffs like organizing. You can link duplicate issues, like suggest new issues. There are a lot of issues in a repo. So if you find any issue from the repo, any private repo or public repo, so you can also contribute and create a pull request to change this code to make this is visible for all you. And you can also make this request as well, that simply you can contribute to make this repo impactful, and you should have to move for the advance and helping others to solve the real time problems. You can also contribute review code in other people's submission, and after a mentor others contribute as well. So you can also contribute any solving a real time problem, if you are any providing any future improving tooling testing, like you are putting any awesome code for your from your side, you can also contribute as well. That means that's all about you want to contribute in a repo. So these all the kinds you can contribute as well. Feel free to contribute. This is very happy. This month will be happy for this open for you all. Feel free to contribute from yourself. So let's make our full request. So this is basically not a workshop, but it's I will talk about each and everything. How to make your pull request simply, not a difficulty complexity. I will explain each and everything step by step. Right? Cool. So this is simply uh, that I ma- that I add this on slide. So that we have discussed, you have to firstly fork the repo. So you have to go in repo site, and you have to start repo here from here. Just click on fork, and you can fork for your personal account to get the entire instance, all documentation, all material for your personal account. So you will get all repository to your personal account easily. That's it. So that's make sure this is the first step to make a pull request, right? So secondly, you have two options. Either you can clone the repo, or you can go for the download zip. You can download for the zip in your desktop or machine or whatever you have, like window maybe or Mac. So if you want to download this project or repo, you can simply clone or download, click on it, just do it on zip, download zip, right? You have to option, like you can also git clone, like write git clone in your terminal, or if you are using VS Code, so you can also make this write this on your VS Code or terminal. uh, Maybe you are using a shell, you can, so just you have to put the uh, repository link. You have to uh, you have to write here and paste, copy and paste. Where to copy? You have to copy from here, and just give you have to paste here, right? Then just enter your on your VS Code maybe, or you are using whatever, right? Then now we have to set up a copy of the master branch, the main online project repository. So when you have done clone the repository, or maybe a download zip repository or projects in your on your desktop, right? So you have to go, if you are using a VS Code. So simply you don't need to go. You don't need to write this command. But if you are using a shell or something else, you have to go for your project. You have to go for your projects. Actually, you are basically you have to go man your files to explore for their contribution. We need to go that clone directed by running this command, just like cd and the name of the repo that you have cloned, right? Now after you have done this, create a new branch, and just write this git git checkout minus b backlash, or then you have to write new your account, new your repository, sorry. Yeah, you can name as well Hacktoberfest. You can also name your personal name and something like that you want to make from your account or like that. Right? So okay, cool. When you have done this, create a new branch. So after creating new branch, make essential changes to the project and save it. Right? What you want to contribute in your projects, like that I have discussed already. That if you are designer, you can also contribute as a designer. You can also contribute as a content writer, documentation, or coding reviewer, or coding debugging, or something like issues that you want to create for a repo. Then execute git status, you will see the changes. So you will all add those changes to the prompt you just created git, that the next step, the next step. So when you write the git status, this git status on your terminal or shell, whatever you are using, so we will note it, everything that you have to change up to now, right? Okay, cool, cool. Add those changes to the prompt you just created using the git add command. After you have to change done this whole thing from your side. So you have to write git add dot, that you are adding something in the repo, right? So after doing this, after you did it, so the next step, now come in those changes using the git command. So make sure you have to write this. You have to write this just only git commit minus n, or you have to commit just like, not big deal, but you can also do it. Just it is first my first comment, like first commit like etc. You can also put it, right? When you done it, so after all things you have did it, when you after pushing after your changes in your repo, you have to the next step, we have push changes to the GitHub. In order to push the changes to GitHub, we need to identify the remote name. So what is a basically remote name? Remote name is a basically content in a repo. So you have to write git remote for calling. You want to know git remote firstly. So you have to write on terminal git remote. If you when you identify the man, um, git remote, like maybe origin or master, something like maybe some developers make maybe others name, calling others name. So when you write this, when you know this basically git remote, so after identifying remote name, we can safely push those changes to GitHub by by writing this command, right? Git push origin, and you have to write your own branch that you created basically firstly, right? So when you done it from any shell or from your desktop, you have to go and refresh your browser, go to your repository on GitHub, and you will see the button compare and pull request. Click on it, basically, right? So make sure before moving to the merging and comparing pull request from your side, please provide the necessary detail on what you have done. You can reference issues using like backlash or star or something like this from your side. And so after doing this, you can also compare the branch that you have created and that you clone the repo from the branch as well. So after doing this, all things from your side, you have to compare the pull request and now submit the pull request from your side. That's it. So finally, congratulations, you met your first pull request for the Hacktoberfest. Thank you for listening. Is there any question? Let me know.
Oh, thank you so much. Anyone have any questions? Are we good? Hey, Shivadeep. I see some of your comments here. Awesome. Oh, by the way, you were presenting in presenter view rather than full screen. Do you have any interest in doing like a live demo of like doing any kind of like live demo of something like simple with GitHub? I think you're muted. Looks like I'm unable to unmute you, but yeah, we are good. I really appreciate your time on presenting. We're also going to do another session that's Intro to Git and GitHub. It's going to be slightly different, more of like a workshop style. So don't forget to RSVP to that event on Monday. And yeah, I'm really excited for all the events that we have coming up. I'm going to, unless anyone has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and remove him from the stream. Awesome. Yeah. I think he's having a connection issue there. No problem. How's everyone doing on the stream? Can I get some hand claps? Let me see. I have a little emoji page open so I can like easily post emojis. And I recently discovered this from a colleague of mine, so I'm pretty excited about it. Let me see. Oh, I'm searching clap. There we go. Now I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste it. There we go. Nice. Did some hand claps. And yay, party emoji. Oh, there's a lot of different websites I can use. Awesome. So I am going to share my screen. And hey, Michelle, thanks for the hand claps. Yay. Let me see. Do I have any comments? I have like a private comment and then I have YouTube comments. It's not showing up. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go over the official Hacktoberfest website. Let me see. Sharing screen. Share screen. Don't show these tips again. The window. I think that's it. Hacktoberfest. So here you see the official Hacktoberfest website. I think it's also hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com also redirects to this URL as well. You can see that there's a countdown, 2 days. So it officially starts a few days before October 1st. There's a lot of in-person events happening, but a majority of the events are virtual events, and a lot of different maintainers and companies are hosting their own event. Going through the page, prepare to hack. Hacktoberfest is for everyone. For those that just joined the stream, if you are new to coding, you just started a coding boot camp, you just started a computer science program, or maybe you're just graduating, or maybe you've been a developer for quite some years, Hacktoberfest is still for you. It's applicable for you. Join the Hacktoberfest Discord. I've already joined it. I'm looking at my other screen. Yeah, there's several different channels. There's a contributing guide channel. There's announcements, supports. If you have any questions with Hacktoberfest, that's probably the best place to go rather than asking questions to individuals. You can probably ask in the support channel. project sharing, post sharing, event sharing. Ooh, there's an event sharing channel. So I'm probably going to post our events that AppRite is hosting in that channel. So you can also look out for there, especially for other individuals. Oh, cool. Okay. Preptember. So Preptember is what they call like pre-Hacktoberfest events. So if you see the word Preptember, it's more like preparing in September for Hacktoberfest events. So it's the perfect time to prepare for Hacktoberfest, get a jump start by finding projects to contribute to. So one of the things that's different about Hacktoberfest 2022 is it's geared towards more beginner contributors, whereas the previous years were not geared towards that. So that is the focus, especially when it comes to different individuals and companies and sponsors doing sessions. The focus is on beginner level and being able to contribute for the first time. And how does it benefit you as a developer? So DigitalOcean is doing their Hacktoberfest Kickoff on October 4th. The more sessions you get involved in, the more information you'll know about like different areas to contribute and different things you can participate in. If you're in the Asia region, this is a good event to get started with, October 12th. There's a hack party, Hacktoberfest wrap party. If you're in the India region, AppRite is hosting an in-person event on October 1st and 2nd. So if you want more information on that, send me a DM. I think we are about to announce that or have already announced it. Just send me a DM on Twitter for information about that. We're also most likely hosting an in-person event in the US. So if you're in the Washington State region, definitely send me a message and I'll help make that happen. So yeah, lots of different hack parties. We have a wrap party too, where we wrap things up and answer any questions. So lots of fun stuff going on. Let's see what the chat says. Hello, watching you from Ghana. How cool. Gaurav says, good vibes. The wave hands with the good vibes. The emoji didn't show up on my end, but I'm assuming it's something cute. Siviki said, I'm contributing for the first time in Hacktoberfest. Congratulations, and you're welcome for the insights. Is there any questions that you have about Hacktoberfest? Because if it's not something I know, I probably want to know, and I'm always eager to learn. I want to learn new information. This is my first year participating in Hacktoberfest, so this is really exciting information. Everything is still new to me. I've been learning in the last couple weeks. So definitely ask, and I will try to look up the information. But I think Twitter has, still sharing my screen. Let's see if Twitter has an official Hacktoberfest. The official account for Hacktoberfest, a month-long celebration. Is my voice and video camera synced together? Because if it is, I know what I did to fix it. Ooh, look at all these announcements. Happening in about 15 minutes. Come join us and chat about contributing to open source. Oh, that was from last year. So because everything just got launched, it's all new. Everything is going to start kicking off like crazy with all sorts of events. And I think we started a little early than normal. And a lot of different individuals are just getting started and just starting to participate. So yeah, if you follow Hacktoberfest, you can turn on announcements and you can get notified of any kind of updates on their tweets that they mention. You can also follow the Hacktoberfest hashtag. If you just type this in the search bar, you can see a lot of different activities going on with Hacktoberfest. Everything that we do with our events, with any kind of participation, we talk about it and post it on Twitter, and we use the Hacktoberfest hashtag. And sometimes it's just me posting. Oh, we're hosting a live stream DevRel roundtable next week. Do you have experience of helping participate in Hacktoberfest? Or do you want to share your experience with others? So you can probably follow him and get more information on that. There's me. I look really serious in that photo. So it looks like a colleague posted this photo here. I look like I'm focusing very hard. And here's another event. We're going to be seeing a lot of this on the Hacktoberfest hashtag, by the way. A lot of different posts with people announcing their events. Who's interested in a live stream where I can show you how to create a pull request for Hacktoberfest? Awesome. So it's a lot of posts by us because we just started early, like I've mentioned. Ooh, I have exciting plans for Hacktoberfest. Don't miss our community call. And you know who's a good person to follow is Eddie. Eddie does a lot of stuff with Hacktoberfest. He is hosting sessions consistently. Tomorrow, he's hosting an open source session that I'm going to join and listen in on. He has a website. Check out his link-free website. I'm going to show you that link. And it gives you a lot of different information. Hi, Tessa. This is Suna from MS Reactor Student Bootcamp. I am glad to see you in the stream. Nice. Which Microsoft Reactor have you participated in? It's still a little out of sync. That's something I'm going to have to troubleshoot later. Thanks for letting me know. I did switch it from 1080 to 720p, hoping that it would fix. I have a 1 gig upload connection, so it's definitely in the settings somewhere that I have to fix. But yeah, Eddie has a lot of great stuff. Let me see let's open up this link here. He does a lot of different podcast shows on open source as well. Follow my open source on GitHub. You can find a lot of different information and things that can help you. Open source tips, Eddie Hub, link free. On Wednesday, Eddie's going to be joining our live stream and we're going to be talking about open source. And one thing he's going to do is talk about his project link free as well. So stay tuned for that and how you can contribute to it as well. And this is something that's more, should be on the easier side to contribute to. And then I'm going to go back to this. So this is Hacktoberfest AppRight's page, hacktoberfest.appright.io. If you do decide that you want to participate, this is where you can find the link, and I will post it one more time. Rizwan, you said late to the party. Good morning, everyone. It's never too late. It's never too late. Oh, Rich, you said I met you in Redmond, and you said I was your mentor. That's so nice. Awesome. Well, I'm glad I got to meet you. I really like the Microsoft Reactor events. Microsoft has a Microsoft Reactor page, and that page shows all events happening in all of their Reactor locations. And if you haven't heard of Microsoft Reactor, it's like a conference room, kind of like a classroom style conference room that they let other organizations host events. They also at Microsoft host events there too. And events are free to host as long as your event is free to other people for other developers to participate in. And it's mostly tech related events. So they host a lot of events related to, helping you as a new developer. And the event that I recently went to was, helping onboard you as like a new contributor to open source and how to get started as an open source contributor. It's pretty amazing. That was a lot of fun. So if you do decide to participate in AppWrite, you can view all Hacktoberfest issues. This is something we're still working on. So it says 7 right now. There's going to be a lot more as we update. View all results. Let's go back. Not sure what's up with that URL. But yeah, one thing you can do with a repo is search tags. Search for like Hacktoberfest tags, and you can easily find issues. I think this is something we're still updating. We're going to have different ways you can contribute to AppWrite. If the issues are something that's like beyond your level or something you're not familiar with, we're going to have a whole section of content contributions. The most fun part that we have is meme contributions. So that's something that we're going to be updating soon, where you can add a meme and we might have some kind of contest with that. So stay tuned for more information on that. Our next speaker should be joining any minute. I'm going to send a message. Oh, I'm sharing my DMs, of course. Sent a message. One thing about live streaming is you forget you're sharing your screen and then you just show all your tabs. So for anyone that recently joined the stream, what are you most excited about? What are you looking forward to? And is there any projects that you are going to contribute to that you've been that you have your eye on? Because if you discover other open source projects, I want to advocate for them. I want to promote their projects and let other developers know about their open source project. So if you are participating in any other open source projects, definitely post a link in the chat, and it'll help with other developers looking for projects. Let's go back to the Hacktoberfest website. Participation. So I think we already looked at events. Oh, this is another events page I just noticed. So I saw another list of events, and then I saw these events. So a lot of different global events happening. Lots of fun stuff. How to organize a Hacktoberfest event. Event platforms and resources. And speakers and facilitators. So you can see, like if you're hosting a Hacktoberfest event and you're looking for a speaker, these are the individuals you can reach out to. We have a whole list of individuals, and you can see them at the very end here. And if you host your own Hacktoberfest events, there's also a brand guideline. So lots of fun stuff. Make sure you check out hacktoberfest.com and explore all of the tabs, explore different areas, and join the Discord channel and be part of the community. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and introduce our next guest, Ahmad. So I'm adding him to the stream now. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, wow. Your mic is very clear. It sounds very good. I think we have the same microphone. Do we have matching microphones?
I hope so. Shure
I
SM7B?
think this is the Shure.
Hope so. Shure SM7B.
I'm loving this thing. I upgraded from a very old microphone I bought in like 2015, and it's such a significant improvement in sound quality.
So I had
And
Rode
I see
Podcaster
you have a
for quite
little.
a
I
while,
had
Rode Podcaster for quite a while. But when I bought this, I was
oh
like,
cool.
like
When I
maybe
bought
it's
this, I was
not
like,
gonna sound so much better. But over time, I've realized that
gonna sound so much
uh,
better, but
it
over
is a
time
great mic.
uh, it is a great mic. Yeah, it's the only one I'm going to recommend now on. That's how great it is. So, yeah, I'd love to. So right now there's a little bit of an echo going on. So what I'm going to do is when you start speaking, I'm going to mute my mic. It's always fun using different technologies and things not working perfectly. Yeah, I'll go ahead and fix the echo sound, Marcel. No problem.
Just give me a
Rizwan said,
minute.
great to see.
Just give me a minute. Maybe I can also fix something on my end. Just a minute.
Thing on my end, just a minute. Yeah, no problem. It's probably my end because I'm having the sound go through the laptop speakers. I don't have my headphones. Rexford said, Ahmad, glad to see you here. It's very nice. Can we get some emojis in the chat? We always love emojis. I'm going to go find them. Emojis in the chat.
Okay, I hope this is better.
This is better. Perfect. Perfect. They said, great to have you with us, Ahmad. Yeah, so for those that aren't familiar with Ahmad, I'd love for you to make an intro. Who are you? What are your favorite things? What do you like to eat? What do you do?
Awesome. First of all, thanks for having me here. I see a lot of comments. Hi to you all as well. So for those who don't know me, I am Ahmed Awais. I've been writing code for I think a little over 20 years now. So I've been around the block for quite a while now. And one thing led to another. I started my career as an electrical engineer, for those who don't know, but then quickly switched over to computer science because I really liked design and blogging. And blogging led me to start contributing to WordPress, the WordPress core software itself, which is actually open source, in case you don't know. And throughout my career, I have been able to contribute to a lot of software like React.js, Next.js, Node.js, like all of these big guns. Like I at the time, I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was a lot of fun, right? So I kept doing that, right? And right now, I'm the vice president of developer relations. I run the entire developer relations in developer ecosystem org at Rapid API. If you find yourself juggling a lot with APIs, definitely check out our new VS Code extension. We just launched Rapid API on VS Code. So yeah, that's me. I also do a bunch of things like I am part of the GitHub Stars program, which I really like, the Google Developer Experts program, and DigitalOcean Navigator. So with Hacktoberfest starting just now, I have the fun honor of having all of Hacktoberfest shirts. And this is going to be my, consecutive ninth year. So I'm really excited about this event. I remember back in the day when I started contributing, Hacktoberfest helped a lot actually bring more happiness than engagement on open source. Being able to distribute some swag and talk about the benefits of open source, it helped a lot, right? So yeah, excited to be here.
Right. So yeah, excited to be here. Yeah, thank you so much. You mentioned you're part of the GitHub Stars. What does it take to be accepted or be part of that? I'm sure it might be a new term.
Yeah, it's I don't know. You can potentially Google it. I think GitHub reaches out on their own. I actually was part of the first cohort, so I think I was the eighth GitHub star. So if you have been doing a lot of open source and you help community a lot, I think GitHub either recognizes you on its own, or someone could potentially recommend you. There's a program where people can refer at least, I think, 3 people that could be potential GitHub stars, and it's an excellent program. You get to be the insider at GitHub. You know what's gonna come out, and you get to talk to their CEO quite often, right? And their teams, the product team, Martin and Anya, they're all doing amazing work, and it feels like you're very well connected with the open source community and the product itself. So you're able to provide feedback on as an open source maintainer or just an open sourcer, right? Just an open sourcer, right?
I absolutely love that. It brings just so much value to both sides of the party. How did you first learn about open source? With my experience, this was back in 2011 or towards the end of 2011. I went to a developer event that I was a developer, and my boss sent me to a developer conference to learn more. And I was just talking to different people, and someone's asked me, hey, do you want to join? We're looking for contributors for on our team on this open source project. I'm like, open source? I've heard that term before, and I think I might use it, but I'm not sure if I use it. And my whole journey's just started from that moment in time. Did you have this very beginning moment of learning about open source?
Yeah, as far as I can remember. So nowadays things are really different than back in the times. It's like I can go back to the day when I figured out, okay, this is how you build a PHP contact form, and now people are able to not use emails but fill up some data in a form on my website and contact me. Right? This was back in, I think, 2002, 2003, and that was a lot of fun. So I wrote about it. And earlier, before that, the forums used to be like this. The admin would publish their email, and you would send your comments to their email, and the next day they will render an HTML with your comment, right? So when PHP kind of got a lot of wind, and WordPress, I think Matt Mullen for P2, right around that time, I had actually figured out how to do a contact form, right? So when I built that contact form and wrote about it, I think this was my first foray in blogging, my first blog post that went viral, right? So a lot of people started reaching out to me, well, can you do this for me? And the fun thing was, I wasn't a freelancer of sorts. I didn't even know the term freelancer at the moment, right? I was really young, a teenager, and they would use my contact form to reach out to me and ask me to create their contact forms. So it was so much fun. And when I don't know, I had I don't know, more than 100 clients where I did this on a regular basis. So I ended up building sort of like a WordPress plugin for it, which was completely open source. And then I quickly found out, well, there's a new plugin on the market. This guy had done a really good job. It was called Contact Form 7. I don't know if a lot of people know. It's because it was built in 2007. That's why he chose to call it Contact Form 7, right? So I started contributing there, and one thing led to another. I had my own template. I had my own, what should you call it, starting template for building WordPress sites or WordPress themes that had a little bit of more JavaScript in them, right? So when I was building those templates, people who were around me, my fellow mates and everything, they really appreciated it. But I figured I didn't know how to give it to the world, right? So it was before GitHub was even here, right? So I was like, okay, it would be fun to, distribute it over Trunk, Mercurler or SVN, the technologies we used to use for WordPress development before Git, right? And then GitHub came around, made a lot of noise, and I would be lying if I said that GitHub didn't help me. GitHub was where I was like, okay, who are these people, and how are they able to just put the code in? And then I learned, okay, this is called a pull request, right? And this is amazing. And at the time, I could be wrong, but I think Linus, who had invented Git itself, didn't really like the pull request feature. And I personally really enjoyed it, and I started contributing. And then one thing led to another. I'm like, okay, I'm contributing code, not only the code that I think should be there in someone else's code, but also I was able to start putting everything, which I called code snippets, that I used to have locally on my computer in Dropbox, right? Sometimes I would move it from one, computer to another. I was able to just start open sourcing it without even thinking that this might even go viral, or this might be something that, developers would find useful. So yeah, that's potentially how I started.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like now these days, there's actual tools that you can use for putting code snippets and saving it. I'd have to go back in notes and find out. I wrote down a really good one that was recommended that I heard at a conference talk. So
Yeah.
it's pretty neat.
It's a
Do you
text expander, I
feel
think.
like
Yeah.
being part of open
It's a
source?
text expander, I think.
I know there's a few of them. So
Okay.
that's one of the few good ones.
Okay.
Do you feel that being part of open source plays a huge impact in your career now? Like if you go back in the past and never was part of open source, do you feel like your path would have been different?
So yeah, I'd like to think so. Like, for example, I just mentioned the GitHub Stars program. Like, there are definitely cool parts to it. Like, for example, you see the light on my back. They just sent me, and the fact that I only get to have it. No one at GitHub has it, and there's also a T-shirt that no one else can, buy. It's just for GitHub Stars. So it's like, you feel appreciated and whatnot. But there's also a lot more to it, right? As I mentioned, I switched from electrical engineering to computer science. I kind of ended up doing a double degree, but I had this imposter syndrome where I was like, maybe I'm not good enough, right? Maybe I should, do something that would not require a lot of code, right? I early on, I was really, really interested in design. I was just so bad at it, so don't tell anyone. but then, I started designing. I bought a phablet. I tried sketching classes. I'm like, oh man, this is really bad. And at the same time, I was getting paid a lot of money to write code from different things that I've been doing. It was just something that I found out that I'm just good at, right? And how all of these people were finding me or my portfolio or my code was because of open source, right? I didn't head down this path because right now it's like for people who are right now doing computer science, they know, well, people in computer science get paid well. Before 2010 that was not the case, right? At least not where I am from, right? So uh, it was just a labor of love, and then being able to unconsciously share what I know. So if you know me, I'm share what you know kind of a guy, right? So in open source allowed me to do that, right? And then later on, this realization that people are now finding freelancers to do things, or developers to do things in my code because they really enjoy it and they want to improve it or they want to extend it for their use case, right? That led me to a lot of consultation calls, a lot of that led me to in places where I never thought I'd be, right? For example, I want to I'm unsure if I'm gonna break NDAs. I'm not gonna name the names here. It's one of the a few big companies where when I was, I think, 19 years old, I ended up consulting and helping almost 52 engineers improve their Gulp JS setup, right? And I was blown away. I was like, holy moly, how am I able to do that? These are like all big dudes and girls, like they're like in their late 20s and 30s, and I'm just a teenager. The fact that they are coming to me to get help on this new tech, that means I'm doing something right? So I found validation through my open source work, through what the community was, or through how the community was interacting with my code that was out there. And it was never easy, right? Like I'm not saying that it's all fun and whatnot. It's actually really, really hard to open source anything. People are going to judge you, right? And they're going to be judging you for the right or wrong reasons, right? They're going to ask you for things that you don't want to do, right? And that's completely fine. But in my career, it is it's not a zero sum game. I think it ends up being net positive for you anyway. So if you're thinking about, well, I don't know if open sourcing this would help me, well, definitely do that. And if you're waiting around, well, if I'm going to build something that's going to be so amazing, that's going to depict exactly who I am, well, that's never going to happen, right? You see some small code routine, you think that's going to be useful, just put it out there, right? It has been many times, right, where I Google something and I found this code and I thought, wow, this is very clever. And then I found out, oh, this was actually written by me. So what? Like I've often find myself Googling and getting into the answers on Stack Overflow that are answered by me. So yeah, it's never going to happen. Do what you think is right at the right time. Do what you think is right at the right time.
I've learned that with tutorials and blog posts. I was told a long time ago, the best way to write is write for yourself. So I wrote there's this issue that I just constantly run into in using PHP MyAdmin a long time ago. And I would forget how to fix it 100% of the time. So I wrote a tutorial on how to fix it so I can just go back to it every time. And I found myself using it so often, and it ended up being #1 on Google search for that MySQL issue. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I kind of want to look it up now. But yeah, it's now, and I've taken that same thing, and when I learn something new and I want to teach other people, and when I teach other people the thing that I've learned, it helps me remember forever, like what I've learned, and then it helps me just like memorize it and improve and get better at it. So it's just an amazing thing. And going back to people reaching out and having imposter syndrome, one thing I've learned is if they're reaching out to you, they already have done their research. They respect you, and you are more than qualified. Like they know you have the knowledge. So imposter syndrome's a tough thing, but it's healthy. It's okay. As long as you're aware it's happening and then work through that, things are always good. Anyone in the audience have any questions so far? I know there's a few individuals that are new to open source and new to contributing. There's one person I met at the Microsoft Reactor that's in the chat, so that's pretty exciting. So how would contributing to open source help someone who just graduated or someone looking for work? Like how would it help them look for work? What advice would you give them to like open source related that would help them land their first job? Because trying to get your first job after graduating or doing a boot camp is probably the most stressful and scariest thing for anyone. And I know there's a lot of individuals are in this situation right now, and they're reaching out to these communities. They're joining Hacktoberfest. They're doing everything they can to just like take the next step into their career.
Yeah.
What would be advice?
You were saying?
What would be like the best advice? Maybe with the resume, maybe like what kind of outreach should they do? Anything to like, what would be the best ways to help?
Yeah. So one of the things that makes you hireable is the fact that you have actually worked on something that was not part of what you were studying, right? Because everyone is going to do a final year project. Everyone is going to build, those 2 or 3 portfolio projects that they teach you to do on boot camp. And well, as a hiring manager, I'm able to look past them very easily, right? So yeah, that was what was assigned to you. What else have you done, right? And one thing that a lot of people miss is that what a hiring manager is looking for is, are you able to work in a complicated code project or complicated enough project? how do you work with others in that project, right? So when you are graduated, you are about to graduate, or you are a bootcamp grad, well, it's very hard for you to be able to pull that off on your own, right? You're not working anywhere. You're not potentially you're not building something super complicated that is going to impress everyone, right? But what you can do is you can join a complicated open source project, right? You can start looking at their issues, pull requests, and see if they if the project is actually alive and if there's a lot of activity happening in there, right? A lot of people, when I tell them about this, like, do some open source work and you will realize that how this thing works, right? And a lot of people will realize this about you as well, right? And from this, what they get back home is like, okay, I'm going to do something in a week or two and then I'll have something to show off, right? That generally doesn't really work. It's a lot of work. Open source is weird that way, right? Like, generally I recommend spending 6 months on building a cool little feature in an open source project, right? Now, I'm not saying that spend 6 months full time doing this, right? I'm saying that you should pace yourself in a way that, okay, I'm going to give myself 6 months, maybe 1 month to learn what this project is about, 1 month to learn who are the stakeholders here, right? This is literally how you do it on a full-time job. Your first month is sort of onboarding. Second month, you're realizing what you're good at and how you can contribute and what stakeholders you need to talk to. And then in the next 4 months, you're going to do something that's going to make your resume or make your report in a way where you could say, oh, well, I did this, right? For example, I'll quote just one guy, right? I was interviewing and this guy comes to me and he says, well, I just graduated, I don't have any big project, but I spent a year on this pull request where I convinced more than, I don't know, 13 14 stakeholders to create this feature, and there's 1 year worth of history on that pull request, and there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of convincing, a lot of working with on different PRs and issues to be able to pull that particular PR off. And that showed a lot of intellect, a lot of what should I say, resilience from a recent graduate in a complicated project, in a complicated code environment. And I was like, sort of impressed, like, okay, this is what is going to be like working with this person, right? So yeah, do that. And while you're doing that, you're definitely writing code. If you're not writing code, I don't know what you're talking about. But if you're writing code, right, uh, share something that you think you're gonna use again. That's how I open source. I have tried many ways where I would like intentionally try one project to I will launch one project and think, okay, this is definitely gonna go well, and it will never go well. People would never care about it. And something really small that you did someday and completely forgot about it would potentially land your code on Mars, like it did for me last year. Like I was completely amazed. Like this small little thing that I fixed in Pure Bootstrap, it ended up on Mars. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing, right? So I didn't really plan for it, and you wouldn't. So just if you're gonna plan for it, plan for a complicated project where you can show what kind of things you are able to pull off. Just one pull request can be enough, but has to be something that is super meaningful. On the other side, start contributing things that you think should be fixed, or start sharing things that you think you're going to use again, right?
Yeah, that's really good advice, and that brought a lot of questions in the chat. And I you don't have to worry about reading the live stream chat. I can read them to you. One question from Rizwan: when you're working with individuals, how do you handle people with ADHD or ADD?
Yeah, I'm not a doctor.
Like,
I am a human being who loves to write code a lot and who has not missed a day of writing code in the last 5 years, right? So at some level, I like to say that I am obsessively, compulsively a developer, right? And 80, so I'm really not qualified enough to comment on something like this, right? I think a lot of us have a attention deficit nowadays, and if you're a developer, like they say, a normal human being is nowadays distracted within 9 seconds, and I say, well, if you're a developer, it's 3, right? And for developers, at least, what I've seen is, if you are normally going to repeat something 3 or 4 times, for normal people it takes like 7-8 times for a developer to realize that, okay, this is important. And yeah, while you're enthusiastic about some other feature, this particular thing is going to help the company, the customer more, right? So it actually helps being there, helping them realize one way or the other, right? So I hope that helps. I am always learning as a manager, right? So what I generally try to do is I try to do one thing that's not working 3 different ways. Then I know that it's not me, it's something else that's broken, right? So generally it's enough. I hope that helps.
It's enough. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. And in addition, I actually recently had a situation where a colleague mentioned, "Hey, I just want to let you know, like, just in case you get offended or you're not, happy with my response, like I have really bad ADHD. It's like really, really extreme." And the best way to go about it also is to like ask them, what is the best way to work with you? Tell me like what kind of things I can adjust or we can adjust to help make it more successful and easy to work with you. So that
Yeah.
that always helps too.
Just one thing I'll add
Next,
here.
I just realized I can show the.
I'll just add one thing here. So this is an excellent advice, Tessa. And there's just one thing I'll add on top of it. For example, I used to ask people what kind of person you are. How would you like? How should I give you feedback? Right? Should I be very straightforward, direct, or not, or like what do you prefer? And then I would just, I would just go with what that person would say, right? So just one thing I've realized is that they are not always better judge of their own work environment, right? Some people might say, well, be direct with me, but when you are direct with them, they might not feel that productive. They might feel that things are just breaking down. So it's always use your own understanding and gut feeling about that as well. Just because someone is saying, well, be direct with me, don't just go and become super direct with them and or whatnot. It's always something that you're constantly adjusting, and that makes you a good human being as well.
Makes you a good human being as well.
I love that. I work best with individuals who are very direct with me and and brutally honest. And I'm always trying to improve. And I always listen to it as constructive criticism. But everyone is different, and we have to accept the fact that everyone takes in information in a different way, in a different perspective. They may be from a different culture and see things or hear things in a different form based on how they grew up. My mom is Korean, so her default speaking to me sounds very angry and direct, and she's brutally honest. So I just listen to that. Like if someone's like angry and yelling at me, I just don't even blink my eye. It's just, oh, I grew up like that. That's normal speaking. Which is why I'm much calm and quiet. We're always the opposite of our parents sometimes. Next question. I can show the question up on the screen. Let's see. I am totally new to open source and would like to be part of an open source community. Any suggestions or best advice?
So I would like to be part of an open source community. I think it really depends on what sticks for you. Like go ahead, take a look around. Maybe you're a Java developer, maybe you're a JavaScript developer. Look around where people are doing what, right? One of the things I often tell people, and it could be just me. I'm weird that way, right? Like just a couple of weeks ago, I had to stay late. I was traveling a lot, and there was this exec off site where, I had to do it between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., which is very odd for me, right? But in between there, they took a lunch break, and I did not know what to do, right? What do you do at 3 a.m. in the morning? You don't go out for a lunch. Like I was just sitting there, right? So what I did was I started reading the core of Express because I've been working a lot with Express lately, right? So I was talking about this with my brother, and like he goes like, "Well, why would you read Express core software at 3 a.m. in the morning?" And I don't know, right? So what I like to do is I like to read the source code just like people read books, right? Most of the times I don't know what I'm reading, right? There's no context. It's not because I'm trying to understand everything, because that takes a lot of energy. I'm just looking at code, right? Just different files of code. Okay, and my brain picks up on weird things from that, like different ways of doing different things. And sometimes what I do is, when I then actually want to learn that software, my brain has a lot in there. It is able to understand, like, oh, I've seen this thing before. And sometimes when I'm stuck in a complicated code situation, I'm like, okay, maybe this is what I can do. And I can only think of the fact that because I read this code somewhere without actually understanding it, I'm able to connect pieces of it later in my life, right? And when I actually sit down and learn this is actually how I learned React.js. React was not popular at the moment. It was just a new concept. I really liked Backbone.js, and I started looking at what React syntax looks like, right? And without understanding, just loads and loads of core software in there, right? And then when I learned React.js, I already knew like, okay, so I'm going to handle state like this because I read that source file, right? So what I would recommend is go ahead, start reading source code, right? And start reading issues. See how stakeholders work in that particular project. Pick a few. There are a lot of important code software. Or even go to GitHub's trending tab. There you'll find things that are sometimes quite new. You can easily filter down based on your the language that you prefer, and then jump in and start improving, right? So it's always very custom, but this way you will do a bunch of things. You will learn a lot without knowing that you're learning, and you will know a lot about so many different software, or you will learn a lot about just one software, right? So you'll be building a T-shaped knowledge, right? In the moment you actually sit down and start learning it for real, right? A lot of context is already there, and it's just you're only going to be learning connectors, and all of it will, for someday, after some exercise, maybe after a week for you, it will all just make sense, right? So yeah, if you're new, you will enjoy reading source code. You will enjoy how others do what you already know a little bit about, right? Or how others do things that you know nothing about, right? That's in itself is a really good feeling. And then you'll also be able to jump in and improve things, right?
Yeah, and to add to that, if you're not completely new and familiar with some software and just slight familiarity to different languages, get involved in a project that you're already using and that you enjoy using. And that would be like a good start for somewhere. But if you're like completely new, which is I think what you're asking about, what Ahmad said is a great suggestion. Which brings us to the next question. What languages are used for open source? So with looking at that question in Rich's perspective is like, how do you know if something you're using is open source? So like, is there a list of open source languages?
Yeah, so it's I think the answer to this is how I explain open source to my mother, right? So source is just the light source, right? Source for anything, and if it's open, that means you can enter into it. Like if the door of the room is open, right? So open source means anything where you can actually read the source of it, right? So we also call it source code, right? Any language can be open source. Anything can be open source if you're able to read the source code of it. Like for example, Windows is not open source, right? You cannot go ahead and read the Windows OS, as far as I know. Maybe they open sourced it last night. I was not aware, but till that happens. But any language, literally any language, can be used to create open source software, and has been used to create open source software.
Thank you. And one more question on top of that. Rich said, I am confused as a graduate student without a portfolio, which is the first priority between building portfolio with projects. Oh, which is the first priority? Building a portfolio with projects or contributing to open?
Yeah, so I think this is sort of very common with beginners. They are quite focused at building portfolio projects, and that doesn't come as easy as it should. So what happens is they do very common portfolio projects. They take it from others' portfolios, or they get inspired by things that are not that inspiring for seniors, and they build on top of it. And they say, well, I have a good portfolio, I'm still not getting a lot of interest from different companies. They look at my portfolio and they're like, meh, right? So well, portfolio means nothing if it is not exciting, right? What portfolio means for me, and this, I think everyone is different, but when I'm hiring, when I am the person who's responsible for hiring, let's say, a junior person, what I'm looking for are three things. Is this person willing to learn and are a quick study? Is this person actually has some aha moments when they're working on something, right? And aha moments are, well, for example, here's an aha moment. When I was about to graduate, we were doing some bank related work where we had put a customized Raspberry Pi setup, where that particular setup was going to help a particular set of banks do one thing. And we would go there, we would configure it, it would work, and then we will get a call from the manager. Well, it is doing the opposite of what it should be doing, right? So in my mind, I knew that there's some ones and zeros that are completely doing the other thing. Maybe there's an if-else check that is not working the way it should. And after a lot of testing, we actually found out that we were always there in the night, and in the morning, that Raspberry Pi setup was set up in a way where that it would get a lot of sunlight. The capacitor would get super hot and would start responding ones instead of zeros. So it will completely change the logic of it, right? And that was such a aha moment for me, that like it's not a complicated thing, but I was like, that project, I really enjoyed debugging that project, right? So whenever I'm sharing this story, I assume every person who is listening to this also gets excited that this has been so much fun figuring out, right? So what is that you have done that has been so much fun? That is your portfolio, right? It could be a completely separate project that you build because you really, really wanted to, and then you really enjoyed it, right? Or maybe you're just like Tessa said, you're consuming some software and you really want it to be the way you want it to be, and then you went ahead and contributed that particular part in it. The same person who told me spend a year to get a feature that was a very small feature, but got the stakeholders around on the board with that feature and contributed that feature, right? The amount of fun that person had felt like more fun than I had in the last month. So I was like, oh man, you're having a lot of fun. You're not just writing code, right? So building portfolio projects versus contributing open source, it's one and the same thing. Your portfolio projects can be open source, right? Just make sure, I don't care about your 10 portfolio open source projects or 10 pull requests. I am only human. I can only look at one or at the max two things. So just do two really good things. Or if you're unable to do that, just keep at it, right? Have stories to tell around, well, I really like this thing, but I've been trying to figure out what this does. And here's what I have done, right? One of my candidates, he actually compiled the entire Swift core to figure out one small bug in his Swift portfolio application, right? So his portfolio was not important at all, but what he had done to figure out, and all of his learnings throughout that process, well, that told another story, right?
Right?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I review resumes a lot too, and notice that sometimes resumes will have too much information and it's overwhelming for me. And sometimes it's too little information, and I know that there's so much more to that individual than what their resume is saying. So really spend a lot of time just perfecting resumes. Look up like what a good junior developer resume would look like. What does it look like to add your contributions if you have any? What are important information and things you need to add to it? I know there's one I reviewed with like a list of 20 code demos that they had, and it was just so overwhelming for me. I looked at the first two and then I'm like, I don't have
Yeah.
time to look at the rest.
Yeah.
So put your best one, and you can mention that you have a lot more you'd like to share if they're interested. So if you want them to know that you have a lot more, you can just mention that. That's okay. Like I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, tell me to write one thing. Tell me to write an essay, and I can use all the pages there are. That's easy. Tell me to write an essay that's supposed to be only one page. That's hard. So building a good resume is hard, right? And it changes with time. If you're a junior developer, your resume should not look like an academia resume that you're submitting for your PhD candidacy or master's, right? It should be about your work that you want to do. So as a senior developer, it changes a lot as well, right? So when you start growing in your career, people start to care less about your education. They care more about your experience. And as a junior, I generally care about, do you have a degree? Did you go to a boot camp or something alternate that I can map to, where I could say, well, okay, this person has experience, and then what have you done with that experience, right? So yeah.
So yeah.
And with resumes, I always think cover letters are helpful, and some companies don't require cover letters. Sometimes it's like you apply, you upload your resume, and it has questions on like, why do you want to work here, or just different questions. And one thing I love to see is when people just truly write their own words on why they want to work there. One thing I noticed that's like 90% of the time is it feels like a copy and paste from the internet of like cover letter style writing. It feels like it all has like the same sentence format, and it doesn't feel like I'm learning who they are as a person. And the point of the cover letter is to really learn about who you are. And another thing that I notice that people do incorrectly is they're writing their cover letter or why they want to work somewhere. They just talk about themselves the whole time, where you need to include like, what value are you going to bring to the company if you join? Like, what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing? What is the impact you are bringing to the company or organization or open source project? And that is like the big part that, especially on the junior level, is never something that you really think how important it is to include. Another question. Do you mean we have to contribute for improving skill and solve lots of data structures and search algorithm questions until we get that aha moment?
Not really.
That
Not really.
that depends on which company you want to apply.
Yeah, go ahead, Tessa.
Yeah, go ahead, Tessa.
So different, like you have to do your research. If you're applying to jobs, learn about their interview processes. Glassdoor.com is transparent to usually medium to bigger businesses. People will anonymously talk about interview questions and what the process is like, which I think should always be transparent what the interview process is like. Some companies like Google, which is no secret, if you have a dream of working for Google, you should be spending at least 3, 4, 5 days a night doing pair programming and learning how to solve problems with data structures and search algorithms. And it's really not about being able to solve it. It's about being able to think out loud and write your problems out loud. And even if, working for Google or working for a company that does this process is like not the goal, I think it's still good. It's really good to learn how to problem solve out loud, because it teaches you these unique skills to be able to look at your code and kind of talk it out loud and discover where the bug is or where the problem is by just seeing if it makes sense, by reading it to someone and talking about what the problem is. And sometimes just talking about the problem and talking out loud, you'll solve it then and there. And I've ran into that situation quite a few times. But it's just never a bad thing to learn that. It might help you in more ways than one.
Yeah, to that, what I'll add is, don't try to do it all at once. That's really, really hard. I have a fun story to share on that. So once, that must be like 6, 7 years ago. I'm completely forgetting. Around 2017, I guess. I got an email from Google, a couple of Googlers, saying, "Well, we really enjoy using one of your open source projects. Would you like to help us improve it a little bit, or whatnot?" I totally thought that was a joke, and then it was a virtual call, just like you do on Zoom. It was Google Hangouts back in the day, right? And I jumped on a call with people I really, really respected. People I'm not going to name here, but people have built Chrome itself. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? I always didn't like, just focusing too much on data structures and algorithms and, getting all of those certifications to prepare yourself for the interview. And I'm not suggesting that you do what I did, right? I'm just sharing that there are alternatives, right? They looked at one of my open source repository and they were like so much interested, right? So not only did I end up consulting and improving that software for them, they were like, would you be up for interviewing? And I'm like, okay, I don't really want to go this down the route for data structures and algorithms, but I'm an engineer, so I'm happy to do so. And when I went to that interview, I realized why it is how it is. It's because if you are a really, really senior engineer, you tend to forget things are hard for junior developers or mid-level engineers, right? And you tend to only ask about things that are stuck in your mind right now, like you're trying this really complicated problem, and you can potentially ask about that and then assume that this person doesn't know anything. That's why these gigantic companies have figured out, well, data structure algorithms, you can't really ask something that is so out of the picture for a developer who wouldn't even know how to solve it, right? It's not about the data structures and algorithms. I often see this debate, well, you're hired to build this Godzilla, and then you're playing with this, Godzilla looking like toys in your actual job. But it's not that. It's because it humbles a senior engineer when they are asking questions about things that you can definitely learn about, right? And just like Tessa said, I always used to think that I'm a half duplex. I can only do one thing at a time. I can type, I can think, I can speak. I can't do all of that together, especially on Google Doc. But I was able to pull that off. I'm like, oh, I can do that. I can think, solve, type, code, and do a bunch of things as I go with it and show my personality in it, because, well, data structures and algorithm are not going to tell my interviewer about who I am. Because, for example, I just give you a hint about these snippets that I use. So I have a lot of them. For example, I was able to type in semicolon and FR, and it printed the for loop. And then I was able to tab through and just fill up, all the things that I needed to fill up. And the interviewer went, well, this is Google Docs. What are you doing? Are you like, this is not copy pasting. Like, how are you able to fill this syntax? Like, what is happening here? And then we ended up discussing that for 15 minutes. Like, oh, this is how I generally work. I like to be productive. And that was a really good conversation. It was like, I have never seen someone in an interview do this, right? So it's also always about who you are as a person, what inspires you to do what you do. But yeah, definitely, it's I think it also helps you a lot if you know data structure and algorithm. And yeah, you don't have to apply for companies that ask for it. There are a lot that don't ask for it, right? So don't try to prepare for everything out there. There's definitely going to be a time when you will feel prepared enough, or maybe you'll be senior enough where they will not care about things like this. Yeah.
Care about things like this. Yeah.
And to add to that, if your dream happens to be working for Google, another thing that they really judge you on, aside from your ability to problem solve and think out loud, if you just go straight to it and just start solving the problem correctly and thinking out loud, like at a perfect form, it doesn't mean you're going to get hired. There's a lot more factors that they're looking into. And one of the biggest things that they're looking for is your ability to ask questions. Because if you're like on the job and they say, hey, we need this built, can you do this? And then you just start building it. Like there might be missing factors where you start building it completely incorrectly, or a client asks for something. And if you don't ask enough questions, you could potentially waste 2 straight months building the wrong thing. So it's really important to ask questions and make sure you're heading towards the right direction for every small area that you're working on. Like, oh, is this correct? Or is this the right, am I using the right search algorithm? Is this what we should be doing? And then when the interviewer's like, yeah, everything is good, and then you can proceed. And it's a big factor. Rizwan says, I think Googling is also a cool skill people look for. Like, I always wonder for other interviews, is it okay to ask to search for something or look it up? Like, that's never happened to me with me interviewing someone, but I think that would be cool. I mean, it's a big part of the job. Let's see, any other questions? A lot of thank yous, by the way, Ahmad. A lot of individuals said thank you for your advice to you.
Happy to help.
Another question.
Sure, SM7B. I don't know what that is.
I think we're both using the exact same brand, and I'm all right. I'll ask a couple more questions. With contributing, is that something that people have to volunteer for? What are the benefits of contributing to an open source project? Why should they? Is that something they can ever get paid for? How do they find the time for that? It's the whole contributing topic.
Yeah, so I think we've touched on a lot of it already. Like you can contribute because you will enjoy it, because you'll be improving things that you use yourself. You're being selfish, or because you want that complicated project experience where you can tell people when you're in a job interview that, well, look what I pulled off with months of work doing this. Or maybe you're able to just build something that's super useful. But getting paid in open source, it's like an oxymoron. It's like, you are seriously funny, you're serious and funny, right? So but it doesn't have to be. It's like, I am actually sort of working on a book that I've never told anyone about. So there you go. How to make money with open source, right? It has. There are lots of ways to make money with open source. You can consult. You can use GitHub sponsors. You can raise money based on your open source project, right? I've invested in a couple of startups that were open source at first, that I really liked, and then they reached out and like, okay, I'm gonna put in just some small chunk of money as an angel investor and see where this goes, right? And they've been able to build companies of hundreds of people, raised hundreds of millions of dollars. It is just how you see things your way. Like, for example, I often tell people that I try not to charge people who are in a silly situation, right? I charge big corporations who want to support people who are struggling with something, right? So there, a good example, an analogy for that would be this guy where I live. He has figured out a way to get a company that sells pure water to provide him with free water that he is able to distribute to people in need, and the company and the person both get a lot of good name for it. So it's both advertisement, both good work. And it's, like I really don't like the word engagement. I think it should be replaced with the word happiness. So what that company's been able to do is spend marketing dollars not for engagement but for happiness, which is best of the both worlds. So that's what you can do. If you can create developers, make developers happy through open source, well, they're going to definitely pay for it. Yeah, but it's not a very straight line. It's not like, you create an open source repository and then you start selling it. Or maybe now I'm thinking there is one method you can use. I don't want to make it sound like an ad, but if my company actually allows you to monetize your APIs, Rapid API, right? So you have code you want to sell, could turn it into an API, because then anyone else can use that API with whatever language and code they prefer, and then you can sell access to your code that is an API through Rapid API, right? So there are services like this that you can use to make money off of your open source work. And yeah, I have been doing that all my life. So if anything, that's a good example.
Anything, that's a good example.
Yeah. The company I work for, I like to call it an open source project, started as just an open source project a couple years ago with just one person working on it, and it blew up in the next year, and a lot of people started contributing to it, and it just grew a huge community, and it became officially a business late last year, and almost all of the software engineers and individuals we hire are actually contributors from the community, which is the best people to bring on board. So it's definitely amazing. One other question someone has, we'll make room for this as a final question. Maybe one more question if there's time. How do you select the license type for?
Yeah. So there's this website called TLDR legal.com. I think I might be wrong. Yeah, TLDR legal, right? You can go to that website, search for any license that you've heard of, and get a TLDR. Too long, didn't read, but generally, it's something that we can spend a lot of time on. I have been through a lot of licensing debates over my career. Generally go with MIT. This is what I do, right? MIT license allows you to potentially do anything with it, but you can also enforce licensing of your software in different ways. For example, here's one thing I will tell you about WordPress. WordPress is GPL license, right? So if somebody wants to use a part of WordPress core or in its entirety, they have to also open source their thing and license it as GPL. So potentially WordPress can also use their stuff as well. That makes I don't know. It is a different philosophy, but what it does is, if you're gonna get value out of our open source software, you're also gonna give the value from your software the same way, so anyone else like you can also get a lot of value out of it, right? And if I would encourage you to check out all of the licensing debates that has happened around GPL. And keep happening around a lot of big companies using open source or sometimes abusing open source, right? It's a healthy debate that you would enjoy reading about, but again, it depends on your goals. Do you want your software to be adopted everywhere without a care? Yeah, I want that. Right? If I really like something, I would really want it to be MIT so I can use it however, maybe in my paid app or whatnot. I would love to be in the open source credits of Netflix app. No wonder if the Netflix app is open source or not. They're using my software, and I really enjoy that, right? So it depends on what are you creating, why are you creating it, and how far ahead are you able to go with licensing. MIT allows you to do anything. Yeah, so I generally go with that. You can also follow big open sourcers. A lot of people who open source a lot of code. Sindre Sorhus, and there are a lot of them. You can take a look at GitHub's trending tab, where you can meet a lot of them and see what is the normal general practice in the industry. Yeah, if you follow that, you're generally going to be, doing something good.
Something good.
I just posted the link to GitHub, the trending tab. Yeah, as he mentioned, understand each license, understand what your goals are, what your plans are, and it helps understanding the pros and cons for each license, and it'll help you determine which one is the best for your project. I know we're hitting on over an hour already. Is there any final words you'd like to mention, or any words of advice, especially for the new developers?
Yeah, so I'm always around on Twitter at Mr. Ahmedawes. If you have more questions, that's where you should ask, and read the source code, right? That's going to help you a lot throughout your career. Use your code for good. That's it.
That's it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know you've been really, really busy in the last couple of weeks, so it means a lot that you've taken the time to be here and help onboard new individuals to open source and talk about Hacktoberfest or open source related stuff. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining the stream and hanging out. Until then, our next event is on Monday at an hour earlier than normal. So yeah, follow Ahmad and
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Thank you. Bye everyone. Bye.
Bye.